Hello, my name is David. I'm the webmaster of the Extra Alum Association of the Twin Cities in Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota. Welcome to this video tutorial. This is part 3 of creating formatted place marks for Google Earth the WYSIWYG way. We're now back in Google Earth, and you might recall at the end of our tutorial number 2 on creating these place marks, we had created this place mark balloon for the Firefighters Hall and Museum in Minneapolis without writing a single line of code. I looked at it and said, I'd like to teach you a little bit more about the things that you can do in this code editor. So let me show you that same place mark that I've made some revisions to. Well, this has a lot more stuff in it than the other one. Notice, let me go over what I changed. The Firefighters Hall and Museum, I moved up to the top of the place mark balloon as a title. The same line is here about why it's made possible, but it's in the title. I made this area of the street address and phone number bold. The link to the website link is still there. I've added, though, a bulleted list of 4 items to show you how to bulleted lists. I then put a separator in because I added some more stuff at the bottom of the screen. There are now 4 pictures of things that I find in this museum. And there's also a line at the bottom of the page I showed just so you know that you can also make special symbols for copyright symbols and registration marks. But here's the other part that I've made different. If you notice your mouse, when it's here, it's a pointing arrow, becomes a hand when it's over these photographs. Because what I did was I changed these photographs to be links. If I click on that link, I get a larger picture of the museum. If I go back to the link, if I click on this picture of a steamer, I get a picture of the old steam fire engine. If I click on a picture of this old fire station, what it looked like back in the early 1900s, that's what you get. So I now got links on all the pictures, and I've rearranged the formatting slightly. So what we're going to start discovering now is how you make these changes and how you make these extra features. So the editor that we're using is the free online WYSIWYG Placemark editor of the Extra Alum Association of the Twin Cities. You'll find it located at this address, www.extraalarm.org/EAATC-online-placemark-editor.htm. And if we scroll down past the opening screen, again, you'll see a reminder from the other part 2 of the tutorial, a small 7-step process of what you have to go through to make a place mark with no code. And there's also a link to a file that will give you detailed information about each one of the buttons on the editor. What we find when we come back that the editor is blank. Shut down the computer overnight, and when I come back in, of course, it's going to be empty. So I need to get my code back so I can do something with it. I have to go back to Google Earth. This is a very easy process. Let's select the museum website that we had to before that we're going to change. So I want to get its code. All I do is click on the properties. I get the properties description dialog box of that place mark. I select all because I want all the code that's in here that we pasted the last time when we finished part 2. I say copy. I can cancel this and get out of Google Earth. I have to make sure I'm in the code window. I'm in the text window, as you recall, because all these icons are available. In the code window, it switches, and mostly all go blank. Let's do a paste. I'll do a paste. There's my code. Now if I switch back to the source window, there's all the code I had. That's where we were. And you might recall when we were here that we had made a table. If you look, we turned the table borders off. But if you look very closely, you'll see there's a slight hint of what that table used to be with slightly ghosted borders. So that's very nice to at least still know where the edges of the various parts of the table are, because we placed different parts and pieces in this table. What we're going to do is we're going to modify this table to make the places we need to put the changes I made into the fancier place mark that I showed you. If, for example, I click in this second box, I didn't see the table becomes highlighted, the sizing boxes show up, so I know they selected the table. I'm going to say, let's look at the rows. I have insert row before, insert row after, the delete rows. I want to insert a row before, and you see I get an extra row in the table. And it has the same 3 columns as it was below that. I'm going to click in this second column of the now first row. I'm going to right click. I'm going to pick cell. I'm going to say cell properties. Now we skipped over this area in the first tutorial, but I can't skip it now. I'm going to pick one of these two here. I'm going to pick the column span, because I have 2 columns that are in that, from the second column and third column. I want to have it span 2 columns, become 1 cell over the second and third column. I'll say 2. I'm going to change the horizontal alignment of anything I put in that cell to be centered. I'm going to say OK. Now you see this cell has made the entire width of the table. And you remember what I had done is I had moved the Firefighters Hall and Museum from here up into this top cell. So let me show you how I did that. I simply highlighted it. I typed Control-C on my computer so that I can make a copy. I clicked into the upper cell and I said Control-V, and there's my copy. Now you notice that was bigger than what was a lot before. Let me highlight it. First thing I did, let me just get the text, is I turned off the underlining. So now there's no underline. Let's make it bigger font. It was 18. Let's try 36. See how it fits. Well, that's not bad. Firefighters Hall and Museum. It makes a title. That's okay. Hit the delete key and it's gone. Then we add, let's put a carriage return here, so now we have 2 lines. I then take this line, which was made possible by this truss. I Control-C, copy it, click in here, Control-V, and there it is. Now the size isn't bad, I'll just leave it alone, but I made that bold. I made it bold. I also made that line blue in color. Oh, that's not bad. So we're done there. Okay, and then it's gone. The next thing I did was I made this text bold. So let's bold it. Then I moved down the page and I said in this area, I want to make a bulleted list of something. So I go over here and click down. I have a bulleted list. I have a numbered list I can choose from and a bulleted list. I'm going to pick bulleted list. Now, any information that I can type in there, and being a horrible typist, I type this all in ahead of time, so you don't have to waste time seeing me do all that. First thing is birthday party rentals. Let's make that a bulleted item. We'll do that. I go and paste it. I hit the return key, get another line. The next item, just go back to Notepad and get it. They have fire truck rides on Saturday only, so let's copy that. Make that a bulleted item. Control V to paste it. Return key, back to Notepad, say Control V. Then, to get out of the bulleted list, got to make sure you click away from the table underneath it so that the table is no longer selected. Well, so far we're doing pretty good. The next step in the process, if you recall from the sample I showed you, is there was a divider line between the bottom part of the screen here now and the row that we were going to put a bunch of pictures in. So first we have to go into the table, click in one of these cells and say row. Say add a row after. Put another one at the bottom of the table. I'm going to turn on the table's border so we can make sure we see all this clearly. Okay, there's the border sign. Now I want to again make this one continuous cell across. There's 3 columns now, 1, 2, and 3, but I want to make this 2 columns. So I go into this cell. I say cell properties. I say span 2 columns. The one you're in, the one next to you. I say okay, and now look, we got this all spanned into 1 column. Now I want to add a dividing line. I'm going to get a couple of returns to make this row bigger so I can see what they're doing. And I'm going to put another one of your choices is insert a horizontal line. I'm going to do that. You see you get a line in the screen. Well, let's take a look at the line. Isn't very exciting, and it goes all the way across, and there are no properties to adjust its size other than its container. That would mean the size of this cell, because it fits itself 100% to the size of whatever container you put it in. I'm going to delete, going to just hit the undo key. Remember here you have undo and redo. I'm going to undo and get rid of it. And instead of that, I'm going to choose to insert an image. An image of what? An image of a horizontal dividing line that I like. It's red in color. I can adjust its size and width, and I think it looks better. Now, this is a divider I use in some of all of their web pages, so I already have the address of them. But you can get dividing lines if you don't like the horizontal line they provide you. You can get dividing line images. Simply be doing a search on the web for horizontal dividing lines. So you'll get all kinds of choices. You can download fancy, unfancy. You'll see you get all kinds of choices. Okay, I'm going to use a graphics file or an image for this horizontal line. And I've used it a number of times, so I know its URL. So I've copied that already. Let's take the image tab, paste in the URL, say none. Now I want you to observe the next step and see what I'm doing. Okay, I say I want it to be, it knows the width of the cell that's going to go in. It said that cell is 640 pixels wide. It knew that because I clicked in there. I want it to be 500 wide. On this it's big. I only want it to be 3 pixels high. But watch what happens. When I click in here and say 3, the width changes to 175. Why? We talked about this before. Because I didn't unclick the lock the ratio button. So I unclick it. Then if I click in the width and I pick 500, I can set them separately. Otherwise, they're locked to each other. Change one, it changes the other. So now I have that set. We'll say OK. And there's our dividing line. Now we want to go into the cell properties because see, it's aligned on the left. Cell properties. Horizontal alignment. Let's say center. Let's say OK. And it moves to the middle. Now there's a bunch of extra line spaces in here. Let's go in and get rid of those and make this smaller. Just backspace them out. Okay, there's a one line. We could go in and we'll eventually turn off the table border. I'm going to stop here and call this the end of part 3 because the next section is going to deal with some new things about making all the cell spaces for the pictures and linking these images to their full-size picture. And it's going to deal with inserting special characters where you may need them. And I want to make that a separate next tutorial. So continue on to number 4 of creating formatted place marks for Google Earth the WYSIWYG way. And again, remind you, we have not written one line of code in this whole thing. I haven't touched the code page, haven't changed a thing. If I can do it, you can do it.